Right now, you need help with something. You won't ask for it. You'll tell yourself it's faster to just do it alone, but that's not the real reason. Somewhere along the way, you learned that asking costs more than it gives back. Think about the last time you actually needed something. Maybe it was a ride, a few extra dollars, an extra set of hands moving boxes, or just someone to sit with you while you fell apart. Did you ask? Or did you quietly figure it out, exhausted, and tell everyone afterward that you were fine? Most people assume this is a personality trait. They call it independence. They call it being low maintenance. But independence by choice and independence by necessity look identical from the outside and feel completely different on the inside. One is freedom. The other is a wound wearing freedom's clothes. Here's the part that surprises people. This pattern is rarely about pride. It's rarely about not wanting to be a burden, even though that's the sentence most people reach for to explain it. The real mechanism is older than that and far more specific. It was built in a much smaller body a long time ago, in a moment you probably don't consciously remember. Psychologist John Bowlby spent decades studying what happens to children when their needs go unmet in a consistent way. He wasn't looking at extreme neglect. He was looking at something subtler. A child reaches for comfort. The comfort doesn't come, or it comes inconsistently, or it comes with a sigh, a delay, a flicker of irritation. The child learns something in that gap, not through words, through repetition. What does a small child learn from that? Not my parent is busy. Children don't reason that way yet. What they learn is simpler and far more permanent. Needing things is risky. Reaching out doesn't reliably bring relief. Sometimes it brings nothing. Sometimes it brings worse. So the child adapts, and the adaptation is brilliant in its own way. If reaching out is unreliable, stop reaching out. Manage it yourself. Get good at not needing. This isn't weakness. It's a survival strategy built by a nervous system trying to protect itself with the only tools it had. Consider how efficient this strategy actually is, from the perspective of a small child with no other options. A child can't change their environment. They can't choose different parents, leave the house, or negotiate better treatment. The only variable they actually control is their own behavior, and specifically, how much they reveal. So the nervous system makes a trade. It sacrifices comfort in exchange for predictability. It would rather feel a steady, manageable ache than risk the unpredictable sting of reaching out and being met with nothing. A steady ache, at least, you can plan around. This is why so many adults who avoid asking for help describe themselves as calm under pressure, even in genuine crises. That calm isn't actually peace. It's a nervous system operating exactly as designed, suppressing the signal that would normally trigger reaching out because reaching out got marked as unsafe a long time ago. The calm is the strategy working. That's what makes it so difficult to recognize as a problem. It doesn't feel like dysfunction. It feels like strength. Mary Ainsworth, working alongside Bowlby, ran an experiment that made this pattern visible in a way nothing had before. It's called the strange situation. A parent and child are in a room. The parent leaves. A stranger enters. The parent returns. Researchers watch what the child does in that return moment, because that's where the truth lives. Some children run straight to the parent, cry, get comforted, and calm down quickly. That's secure attachment. But some children do something stranger. They don't run to the parent at all. They keep playing. They look fine, almost too fine. Researchers measured their heart rates and found something the surface behavior didn't show. Their stress hormones were spiking just as high as the children who were openly crying. The difference wasn't how much distress they felt. It was whether they let themselves show it or ask for anything because of it. That's the blueprint. Decades later, the body is bigger, the stakes are different, but the wiring runs the same circuit. You don't ask for help because some early version of you learned that showing the need didn't change the outcome and might even make things worse. So you became excellent at looking calm while struggling. You became the friend that everyone leans on, while quietly making sure no one ever has to catch you. Here's the twist most people don't expect. This isn't really about other people letting you down. It's about what your nervous system decided to do with that information. Avoiding help isn't a logical conclusion. It's a reflex. Your body started treating needing something as a threat to manage, not a normal part of being human. That reflex shows up in places you wouldn't necessarily connect to childhood at all. You say, "I've got it," before anyone even finishes offering. You wait until you're completely overwhelmed before admitting anything is wrong, and even then, you minimize it. You feel a flash of something close to shame the second you imagine the words, "Can you help me?" leaving your mouth. Not guilt about inconveniencing someone. Something closer to exposure, like asking reveals a part of you that isn't supposed to be seen. There's a researcher named Sue Johnson who spent her career studying adult relationships through an attachment lens, and she found something that explains why this pattern is so hard to unlearn, even when you intellectually know better. She found that the urge to hide need doesn't go away just because you grow up and become capable. If anything, competence makes it worse. The more capable you become, the more convincing your independence looks, and the more isolated you can quietly become inside of it. Notice the trap here. You get praised for handling everything alone. People call you strong, reliable, low drama. The compliments reinforce the exact behavior that's keeping you disconnected. Nobody claps for the moment you almost asked for something and didn't. Nobody sees that part. So the pattern gets rewarded into permanence. There's a particular kind of loneliness in this that's hard to name because it doesn't look like loneliness from the outside. You're surrounded by people, you're liked, you're useful to everyone around you. But there's a quiet exhaustion underneath it. The fatigue of constantly being the one who holds things together and never the one who gets held. Think about how this plays out in ordinary moments. A coworker offers to help you finish a project before a deadline. You say you've got it, even as your stomach tightens. A friend asks if you're okay after a rough week. You say you're fine, and you almost believe it as the words leave your mouth. Your partner notices you seem off and asks what's wrong. You shrug. You change the subject. Each of these moments feels small on its own. None of them feels like a pattern in the moment, but stacked across years, they form the entire architecture of how you move through your relationships. There's also a financial version of this that almost nobody talks about. People will max out a credit card before they'll ask a family member for a loan. People will sell something they care about before they'll say the sentence, "I'm struggling and I need support." The discomfort of exposure outweighs the practical cost every time because the nervous system isn't doing a cost-benefit analysis. It's running a much older script that has nothing to do with math. And it isn't only about big crises. It shows up in tiny domestic moments, too. You'll quietly carry 6 grocery bags up 3 flights of stairs in one trip rather than ask the person sitting right next to you to grab 2 of them. You'll struggle to assemble furniture alone at midnight rather than text someone who offered earlier in the day. None of these moments are really about the bags or the furniture. They're rehearsals of the same old belief, performed at a scale small enough that you never have to look directly at it. What makes this even harder to catch is that asking for help isn't actually about whether you're capable. You know you're capable. That's never been the question. The real question your nervous system is quietly running in the background is whether other people can be trusted to respond well when you're not okay. And for a lot of people, somewhere early on, the answer that got encoded was no, or at least not reliably. Here's where it gets a little more hopeful. because this circuit isn't fixed. Researchers studying something called earned secure attachment have found that adults can rewire this pattern, but not through willpower or simply deciding to be different. It happens through repeated small experiences that contradict the old prediction. You ask for something small, someone responds well, your body notices. You ask again, slightly bigger, it goes okay again. Slowly, the prediction your nervous system has been running since childhood gets updated with new evidence. This is why the fix isn't just ask for help more. That advice misses the actual mechanism. You don't need motivation. You need proof collected one small low-stakes moment at a time that reaching out doesn't end the way it used to. The body doesn't believe a sentence. It believes a pattern. Start smaller than feels meaningful. Ask someone to grab you a coffee while they're already up. Ask a coworker to glance over an email before you send it. Ask a friend if they have 5 minutes to talk something through instead of waiting until you're already drowning and the ask becomes an emergency. The size of the request matters less than the repetition. Each time the response is even slightly decent, it chips away at the old prediction your nervous system has been defending for years. You'll probably notice resistance before you notice relief. There might be a flush of heat in your face right as you say the words. Your voice might come out stiffer than you intended, almost apologetic, as if you're bracing for the door to slam. That bracing is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign the old circuit is still active, still expecting the outcome it learned to expect decades ago. The discomfort isn't evidence that asking is dangerous. It's evidence that you're doing something your nervous system has been avoiding for a very long time, and it hasn't caught up to the present yet. So the next time you catch yourself about to say, "I've got it," when you actually don't, pause there for 1 second. That second is the whole pattern trying to protect you the way it always has. You don't have to fight it. You just have to notice it clearly enough to choose something different, just this once, just a little. Right now, you need help with something. This time, notice what happens in your chest the moment before you decide not to ask. That flinch isn't weakness, it's a memory doing its job a little too well.